All right, guys, it is Monday evening. So I know we changed time slots. Let me put this over there today. So the idea is to make this feed accessible to everybody. So either you're getting off work or you're catching me and you go, hey, who is this guy? My name is Rick Ginn, and I am a wholesale addict, so to speak. I've been doing this 20 years, and I love every minute of what I do. So I've usually been doing around 8 p.m. Eastern time. So we're going to try 5 o'clock Eastern times because what the heck, maybe there's someone that can't make that live. So here's the really cool part. If you guys that normally schedule in are missing it, it's all recorded. It's really simple and you can enjoy this. So today we're talking about how to get to the top 1% of wholesaling real estate. And since I would put myself in that category, I'm going to teach you what I've learned. And if I had to start all over today, what I would do to become the top 1% in wholesaling real estate. And honestly, I'm not going to give you like cream puff stuff type of stuff. I'm going to give you like actionable things you have to do. And as simplistic as they'll sound, they've never been more true than today. So here's what I need you to do is if you guys want to introduce yourself in the comments, a lot of you already beat me to the punch. That is awesome. You guys are wonderful people. So I'd like to believe everybody tunes in here is of like-minded interest. So if you want to partner up with someone or do anything like that, just make sure you vet them correctly. And, here we go. So use the comments. I put a link in the top of the comments on how you can do a one-on-one with these. And the reasons I brought this on my personal channel is number one, you get to see a little bit different side of me outside of me working with my son, which I spend a lot of time with him, which is great. And if you guys have family, you can understand that. And if you're fortunate enough to do business with them, but you guys get a little bit different content and you can ask me a little bit different questions. And my son has his own channel. You guys looked on there tonight. So that is awesome. So let's get into it. If you guys have never seen this channel before, what I need you to do is just go over to freewholesaling.com. We teach you everything to do from there. And the idea is to get you your first deal and get you through wholesaling and teach you how to do it. And honestly, without taking any money out of your pockets, 100% free. I believe everybody should be able to do their first deal for free. Not only their first deal, get you to your first $100,000. And I haven't had just 20 or 30 people do it. I've had thousands. So anyone who tells you if you don't have skin in the game, you can't make it, most likely they're going to be a guru and they want you to pay them to make it work. And I don't think that's right. So that's it, guys. So if you have any questions, concerns, anything like that with wholesaling, honestly, you can ask me anything on the Rick Ginn channel because I'm a little bit more wide open on this. So I will go as long as I have questions. I'll probably take the first. I'm not going to take long in the beginning here. So if you guys want to get on and you want to do a one-on-one, tonight's probably want to be one of your best nights to do it because I almost guarantee I can get to everyone because sometimes I talk a little bit more. Sometimes I talk a little bit less. So today's been like one of those crazy days in my life that honestly, I actually enjoy doing this part. I don't believe talking to you guys is taxing at all. It's actually very, very, I guess it's almost therapeutic in a way. So I've been beat up by lawyers, accountants, what else? Bookkeepers, definitely sellers today, and commercial tenants, where they're a lot of fun sometimes. So I am reading your comments. Actually, I haven't even got a bite to eat today. It's like my first cup of coffee because I still got to go work out today. I haven't even got to it yet. So awesome. Okay, so let's get into it. Talking about being in the top 1%. And the reason I talk about this, because I was like, oh, what's it take to get to your level? Honestly, so many of you guys think that it's like this destination you wind up on. And I'm here to tell you, it's what you do today that will predict your outcome for tomorrow. And then it will keep working. And the reality is what you're doing today will dictate if you go to the top 1%. top 5%, 10%, whatever you want to call it. But it's not some destination you just pull up. You have to get in there and get it done. Okay. So I will tell you, the first thing that you have to resolve is your mindset. And it's one of the biggest challenges for wholesaling. So everybody loves the theory of what we do, for the most part, most people. But the reality of getting it done can be an overwhelming task for a lot of people. And that, the reality is, why is there a 95% failure rate in wholesaling? On the coaching guru part, it's because you all get excited about it. Oh God, I want to do what Rick does. That's awesome. And then I show you what you got to do. And you just kind of like look at me in this glazed stare like, well, my other job's not so bad and I don't have to like kill myself. And the problem is with that is going to be your mindset. So the biggest thing you have to do before you even consider on the 1% is you got to get in your mindset. You have to fix it and make it right. Okay. If you want to be like everybody else around you, just keep doing what you're doing. And I promise you, you will achieve it. Okay. You are so capable of so much. It's disgusting. I'm telling you, you have no idea what you're capable until you push yourself to that point. But I promise you, your friends, your family, your peer group, they are not going to push you. The opposite is going to happen. They're actually going to want you to stay with them. How do I know this? You guys, I do not have the same friends that I started out in wholesaling as I do today. I have some good longtime friends. I have people I grew up with and they're still my friends. But for the most part, you are going to change. So the first thing to move forward is you have to change your mindset. You have to first understand that you have to change the way you operate. You cannot do what everybody else does and expect a different result. And that's the biggest thing I see with everybody is like, you just refuse to change your mindset. Let me give you an example. You know what I'm complaining about today? You ready for this one? I'm complaining that I had to stop myself because once you start complaining, you all admit you start spiraling down you just start spiraling. One negativity rolls to another one and it just seems to like fester and it grows like a weed. Okay. Number one, understand the human mind. We were meant to like avoid saber tigers and being eaten from dinosaurs and stuff like that. I don't even know if that's correct, but the idea is our animalistic thinking is, how do I survive today? Okay. The advanced thinking we're talking about with wholesaling and getting to the top and really separating yourself from the pack is you have to separate yourself from that thinking. How? Let me give you an example. You know, the person that's in the grocery store and you get annoyed because the person in front of you, it's 10 items and they wind up doing like 18 or 22 items. If that ticks you off, you got the wrong mindset. Okay. If you flick somebody off because they cut you off, you have to change your mindset. You don't have control of this stuff. So you trying to assert yourself to control it, to let them know you're upset with them, you're just wasting energy. If you take that same energy and harvest it towards changing your own mindset, it will change. My example, as I said earlier, okay, it's my ADHD kicking in. I was complaining about my tax liability for this year. Okay. So I had my final CPA meeting and I had my bookkeeper. I got all these people on the call and I'm just like, how? We bought all these properties. We made all this money. And he says, Rick, that's just the bill. You make a lot of money. And I got upset. And I'm thinking about that. Let me ask you, would you be okay with just having a $800 tax bill? And I'm thinking like, you know what? The more I pay in taxes, probably the better off I'm going to be anyway. So you have to pay your taxes. There's a way you can minimize your tax, but sometimes I make a decision to pay my taxes so I don't have to obligate myself owning hundreds and hundreds of properties because it's very, very taxing. Because you have to keep it up, the team, the accountant. I don't have 26 people that work for me, but I felt like I had 26 today. So I was getting upset about how much I owed. And the funny thing is, I look at it now, I would have killed to have this problem just probably 7 years ago. Honestly, when I worked in corporate America, I couldn't even I could have an entire sales staff and what they earned all in an entire year, I still would have paid more in taxes. So, like, you know what? It is what it is. I don't like paying taxes more than anybody else. I'm working on strategies to pay less taxes, but there comes a point where there's just nowhere else but to pay the taxes. But I was complaining about it. It's my mindset. It's ridiculous. I need to get up and get a much, much bigger tax liability and find bigger problems. How do I do that? The thing is, I reach out and I help out as many people as I can. Sellers, I help you guys out. I help out people I network with. I help out my business partners, and that's how I get it done. You got to change your mindset, man. Like, so think about like the problems you're struggling with today and think about the problems you struggled with 10 years ago. And you're like, oh, that's funny. I remember when I thought making $100,000 a year was, I mean, that was it, man. I'm done when I made 100 grand. And honestly, I can do that in a 2 to 3 week period with my eyes shut. But I complain, right? So I'm just telling you, it's all relevant. It's mindset. And you got to get to the point where you just keep working your way up the mindset ladder and just go, okay, this is what I do. You can't, life is, you have no idea how short it is till you get to my age. And it's sitting there complaining about stuff that, number one, you don't have control. And number two, you're not going to change the outcome, is do not spend energy on that. Okay. It just doesn't work. People who complain constantly, I avoid them at all costs. Honestly, if you guys get on here and complain, like, I want to end the conversation as soon as possible, because the one thing I've learned is nothing gets solved when you sit there and just complain. And if you're a chronic complainer, it consumes you and you can't get anything done. So here's the good news. If you're in that mindset now, fix it. Be aware of it. That's number one. So if you have a problem with a mindset, become extremely aware of it and start self-correcting yourself. So if you think you talk too much, go, oh, here I go. I'm going to shut up now. If you think you joke too much, sometimes you got to be a little bit more businesslike. If you sleep too late, you need to set an alarm and get up. We're going to go into that a little bit, but guys, it's mindset. So here's a quick cure. I love YouTube. There's some of the most amazing videos out there. Look at people who've really accomplished, that are extremely consistent in how they do it, and find them. You guys know I love Tony Robbins. I think he's an amazing communicator. And one day, if you guys don't know Tony's story, he just decided he was not going to put up with his own BS. And he made himself accountable. Okay. And that's when his life changed. That's when my life changed. And honestly, it's what can easily happen with you. So stop making excuses. Tomorrow is coming, if you like it or not. So anything you're putting off tomorrow, just start it right now. Change your mindset and decide you're not going to put up with it anymore, because whatever you tolerate is what you're going to get in life. And I'm telling you, it's correct. Life is tough sometimes. It is not perfect. It is not like Facebook out there. It's not like always like YouTube. I'm here to tell you, you have to change your mindset. If you have a chance, you can go to, it's called UPW, Unleash the Power Within. I brought Zach in there when he was a young man, and I believe it had a very profound impact on him. I brought my daughter there. I brought my wife there. And sometimes people need to hear it from other than you. So if you're a parent, AKA a dad or a mom, sometimes you got to bring in third parties to kind of show people the light. So I made my kids go and I separated myself from them so they could fully engage in it. And it's like, I think it's like $500 or $700, guys. It's well worth it. Like, if you can change someone's mindset for that price. But here's the problem. There's a lot of you out there go, I don't want to pay $700 to go to some Tony Robbins seminar. It's like, I go, first of all, he's not a guru. Okay. It's a guy who does what he says. $700 is a good deal to change your entire life, especially if you're young. I don't even care if you're old. Okay. It is amazing. But people go out and spend $150 on a dinner. They'll go out and get a bar bill. They'll go on a cruise. And I'm telling you, you have to learn to invest in yourself. So to change your mindset, number one, recognize it. Number two, commit to invest in yourself. That doesn't mean go out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on guru. It's actually quite the opposite. And guys, if you have a limited funds, limited time, if you have access to the internet, like I know you do watching me on this, God, there's so many videos on YouTube. Find it from high quality people. Do not go down the YouTube rabbit hole of just like searching randomly. So if you want to look at Tony Robbins and deep dive, you can go to 2 to 3 hours of videos and it's 100% free, and let it inspire you. I don't care what it is. You've got to get out of your mindset. Recognize it, guys. I'm telling you, amazing things will happen in your life. Our Ed Milet, dynamite, dynamite, dynamite. Just great stuff. So it's that's it, man. You guys think I like working out, man? I hate it, but like if I don't do it, I know stuff's going to break down. Okay, so mindsets first. So the first thing is you got to create your musts. So we're talking specifically about wholesaling, but we're going to relate this in life. You've got to write down your must. What must you do to be a top wholesaler? Well, I can tell you this. You can't complain. Your mindset's already got to be cleaned out, and you've got to set a plan in the motion, okay? If you make it a must is not, I'm going to try, I'm thinking about it. Well, if this happens, then I'll do this. A must is, this is what I'm doing. A must in my vocabulary is translated to the word conviction. Conviction means I'm doing it no matter what. If it kills me, I'm going to do it. What is your must? Write it down. Put it on your computer. Look at it every day. Guys, your bathroom mirror is one of the best tools you can use because let's face it, you can't avoid it. I know you ladies can't avoid it. 2 ladies in my house, I know. But you got to look at it every day. So what is your must? What is your must? So in wholesaling, what is it? Is it to provide for your family and have as much free time as you can with them and get out of your corporate job that you hate? Then that's your must. Put down your must, the stuff that's going to be non-negotiable with you, and burn it into your nervous system because the universe responds to what you ask for. But the first thing you have to do is ask it from yourself. And if you don't ask from yourself, it's not going to happen. Okay. So I'm going to be kind of moving on here. Act as if. Okay. So you hear this all the time is they always say, dress for the job that you want to ultimately be in. Now, I'm not a good example because I'm wearing a Psycho Bunny shirt, but that's just how I roll. Why? Because I wore a suit for 12 years of my life. And I'm going to be honest with you, I hated every minute of it. And I swore there's only 2 places where I wear a suit. Now, I'll wear it if it's required for a business meeting. It's going to be a funeral, which I hate, just like all you. And it's going to be for a wedding, which I love. I love weddings. I think weddings are a lot of fun. Dancing, food, cake, and family. Yeah, I know some of you are like, oh, yeah, it's the open bar too. I don't participate in that, but I'm just telling you it's so you need to act the part. You need to do it now. You need to start projecting. So this is where it comes in. Remember, stop focus. You want to know where you're going to wind up, but what are you going to do today to start this? Okay. So today, if you have a motivated seller and you're working with them, you're going to have to show extreme confidence today, just like you're over here and go, oh my God, I'm going to be like Rick in 20 years. I go, listen, Rick was scared and horrified his first probably 5 or 10 deals. But I got through it. Why? Because I acted as if. I just moved forward. What's the worst they're going to do? Kick you out and laugh at you? Who cares? We've all had that experience. If you haven't, you really are like going through life to right. Act as if, guys, right now, if you're working with a motivated seller, you're working with someone that you're struggling with, just have the confidence and go in because you don't get the confidence when you get 1,000 deals. The reality is just get to that first one and it changes everything in wholesaling. That's how it was for me. And that's how it's most of you I talk to you. So if you haven't got your first deal, then you just got to act as if it is. Now, the first deal is usually the most challenging one. Okay. So if you got to fight through 20 or 30 motivated sellers that write contracts to get that one, stick to it. Act as if I'll write 1,000 contracts just to get my one. And if you think like that, you act as that. You can never go like this. Well, if I write this contract, I'm out. That's not acting, man. That's faking it. Okay. Act as if you've already done this 20 years. The reality is wholesaling is about networking and talking to people. The real estate is just a symptom of people's problems. Okay. So you guys have all been in life long enough to understand how people work. And we're all learning and evolving as we do it. So just help people out. Okay. So you don't need to know everything about real estate. Just so that you know, my first 10 deals I knew very little about real estate. How was I able to move forward? I acted as if. Okay. It doesn't mean I lied to people. It doesn't mean I BS'd people. I went and got help when I needed it. And I was honest and transparent. But more importantly, I was like the most enthusiastic person. So you younger people out there that are blessed with this beautiful thing called youth, okay? You are being told in life your youth is a liability. I'm here to tell you it's the complete freaking opposite. Your youth is your asset, and you have to have enthusiasm with it. True story. People that reach out to me that show that want to, like, hey Rick, I want to do a deal with you. I want to do this. I want to do that. I have no experience, but their enthusiasm is through the roof. And they show me examples of how they've gone above and beyond what they need to get done. And they're willing to show me the walk through a wall. I'll hear those people out all day long. I love people. I was that person. I would have done anything to be successful in this business. So act as if. I'm going to keep on moving. Okay. Here's the next one. You got to think, man. You got to think like a wholesaler. Like you truly, truly have to like think. So a lot of times you can answer a lot of your questions like, okay, just go like this. What would Rick do? Or what do you think Rick's thinking about when he does it? What do you think Zach does? I don't need you to be us. It's just like, listen, I simplify wholesaling. I always tell you guys, if you have to bring out a calculator, you're paying too much for the deal. If you spend more than 10 minutes on comps, you're trying to justify your overpriced purchase of your property. Okay. If it doesn't work, go back and fix it now, because if you don't, this is going to be painful down the road. Okay. So think like a wholesaler, not like a speculator. This is probably one of the biggest differences you have to understand. Okay. You are a wholesaler. It means you have to buy deals for what they're worth today, not tomorrow. That's for the fix and flippers. That's for all these other guys. And all these other people that bring all these cute tips and tricks on how to go around wholesaling, they'll never last, because wholesaling is always going to be here. It's been here 100 years before I did this. There's examples of wholesalings all the way back to like the 15 to 1600s. And I can prove it to you anytime you want. Anybody want to challenge me? It's in the United States historical. Go over to Washington, D.C. I'll pull it up. I took all the information on it. True story. I went to Washington D.C. to tour our nation's capital, and I spent like an hour and a half like researching like real estate and like its origins, and all the way back to Europe and all the stuff that goes with it. And I found like predominant flippers that would be in a town, and these guys wholesaled all the properties. It's absolutely amazing. I'm going to get you a name on it. But so there's people that think, oh, you can't do it anymore. It's been going on since the 1500s, guys. And definitely since the 1700s in the United States, once in its early infancies. And guys, this has been around a super long time. Okay. So I need you to think long-term about this. Also, when you're thinking, think about some real long-term goals for you. Like, hey, what if I could work with my kids? I never even thought about that. It just happened naturally. Okay. There's so many things, but you have to think like a wholesaler, which means you got to think about business today, and you got to think about business tomorrow. And then you got to think long-term on strategies. Okay. Understand this, the mindset of a wholesaler that wants to be in the 1%, your goal is to generate revenue now, not tomorrow, not speculating, but you need to generate revenue now, which means in the present. And then you take that revenue, which you're going to work your butt off, and then you take that money to buy assets to pay you and your family for the rest of your life. That way you can wholesale if you want, when you want. That's how I do it. That's why I have so much fun with this. Okay. I want you to do the same. I was fortunate enough to teach Zach at a young age to indoctrinate this philosophy to make it work. Okay. And it works very well. So thinking, okay. So you have to think about someone you want to be like. So many people think thinking is like, you have to do exactly what they do. No, you just need to like think I'm always thinking, how can I make more money? How can I grow my business? And how can I help others while I do it? And everybody's got a different way of doing it. I'm okay with it. Like, we're all put on this earth to share stuff. It's stupid to think somebody owns one thing. That's why I do freewholesaling.com, because it drives me nuts when people go, oh yeah, I own this, I own that. Nobody owns anything. It's ridiculous. So, let's see here. I'm going to touch on that comment on the Airbnb one, I promise. So it's so important you guys understand how to do this. So let me get back on it. Okay. Here's the one. This is what's going to separate from the people that actually want to be successful wholesalers and the ones that want to talk about it. Okay. So I love this last week. If you guys watch me and Zach on Flip with Rick, we did a driving for dollars challenge. So if you guys ever had a chance to look at it, we used dmzac.com on the driving for challenge. But the really cool part is to show you like how it works. And one thing is we asked you to be accountable for it. And the people posting the amount of leads they're getting it from it, I had a purpose for this. I want you to think like me, but more importantly, I want you to do just as I do. So if we're talking about the do's, okay, you got to do it. So if you're going to do a driving for dollars challenge, go out and get 500 leads. Don't talk about it. Don't ask what your neighbor did. Go out and do it and then make an accountability post. The people I've done it this last week are honestly amazing. Like that's a doer. That's a person who just goes out. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I love when you guys commit and say, hey, I'm going to do this and nothing's going to stop me from doing it. It makes a huge difference how you operate. And I'm telling you, it works well. Okay. Now, we talked about probably one of the biggest missing pieces people have that don't get in the top 1% or 10% for that matter, consistency. Once you figure out what you're going to do, you got to be brutally consistent. You have to be militant almost on a daily basis. If not, you have to have weekly and monthly, and you can't stop doing it. So if you're doing cold calling Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, you have to do it. Oh, you're sick? You're going to have to make up for it. You're going to have a makeup day. Oh, you're going on vacation. You have to account for all this stuff in your consistency plan. Consistency doesn't mean do it until it becomes inconvenient and make an excuse. You're going to have to write it in. Okay. Guys, I took a 3-year period. I never took a vacation. I never took a day off. I just wholesaled like crazy. And I got so much further ahead than everybody else because they had vacations. I had this, I had that. I just rocked and rolled. And I need to tell you, consistency, if you're struggling and you want to talk to me on a one-on-one today, I can easily find out how consistent you are. And I probably find the problem right off the bat. So consistency wins all the time. It's boring. It's monotonous. And nobody likes doing it, but everybody does it so they can get the end result. Okay. Which leads me really to the last one. You ready? There's no way you'll be in the top 1% without this. You have to be disciplined. Discipline is everything. And so many of you guys look at like discipline like it's a negative connotation. And I'm here to tell you, discipline it's a good thing. So if you're like me, when I was a small child, I was disciplined all the time because I just acted out. It's just, you guys can relate, you guys understand. But as I grew older and I understand, discipline was a way of life. And if I didn't do it, everything was going to be difficult. Okay. Now, here's the one thing is discipline is not a skill that you're born with. It has to be a learned skill. There's no exception. Anybody on this live tell me nobody's just born with discipline. Some it's easier than others, but you have to learn it in some form. So if you work out, it is a required discipline to learn how to do it. Why? Because it hurts at first. It's inconvenient. You have to set a time for it, and it's a pain in the butt. And then after a certain amount of months, you know why the real reason why I work out other than the health benefits is number one, it's a release for me. And number two, I feel awkward when I don't work out. So a discipline becomes really cool when you feel awkward by not doing it. So if you cold call 4 days a week and you took a week off, your discipline will actually make you feel somewhat guilty and deprived. And discipline, if you do it right, it works in reverse. Okay. But it is a learned skill set. Sometimes your parents taught it to you, and sometimes strangers taught it to you, or worst case, society will teach you discipline. Okay. It's really important. I way overlooked discipline when I was a young man. And you people that are in the military, get disciplined, because that's the only way a military can operate. And guys, I'm telling you, discipline is absolutely everything. The last one I'm going to leave you with, I know this just kind of goes along with your thinking and your mindset and your must, but guys, you have to have goals when you do this stuff. What make a such a not? I want you to make a goal for the start of this next coming year. Okay. And then you set it. And then I want you to reward yourself when you reach it. But then you got to have a long-term goal. Like, what is it going to look like in 10 years? And that stuff you can get like really excited about. Guys, I'm telling you, just in 2 years, you can change your life so dramatically. It's ridiculous. And I want you to understand it. To be able to get in the top 1%, you're going to have to do the things that I've already mentioned in this live stream. There's no way you're going to get it accomplished without doing it. Okay. The discipline, most of you struggle with that the most. I'm here to tell you, either you discipline yourself or society will discipline you for you. Which do you want? You're going to have to pick. Let me ask you this. Do you think it's a pain in the butt being broke, struggling to pay your bills? I've been there. Not knowing where your next meal is coming from, how you're going to pay your rent, all that. I've done all this, guys. I've done it. I'm telling you, it sucks. Okay. That's hard. Or you can discipline yourself to do the things on a daily basis to get in that top 1%. And that's hard too, but you have a lot more options in life and you are in 100% control. So pick which hard you want. Same thing. Like, the reality is, either you can work on your wellness, make time for your wellness. If not, you are going to be forced to deal with your illness. And it's the same thing. Business, finances, health, it doesn't matter. Okay. If you don't do it, you're going to wait till you get so miserable you were forced to fix it, and then it's extremely painful. So just take the time now and do what you need to do with it. And I'm telling you guys, amazing things can happen on it. So let me get this off of here. So let me answer some questions. If you guys want to hop on a live, I am here for as long as you guys want to answer questions. And I love answering questions. So put it on there. And then the link for the live is on the top of the stream. I know it's a little bit light today because I switched times, but we had a time change. So I figured I'd start a little bit earlier. So we'll figure out what to do. So let me put this one on here because this is a good one. Okay, wait a minute. There it is. Well, okay. So I'm looking on the comments. He says, "Hey, what's the deal with wholesaling Airbnbs? I hear it's picking up momentum." Well, let's talk about Airbnbs for a minute because this is a really good one. Oh Lord, I got Airbnbs. So can you wholesale an Airbnb? Technically, yes. Airbnb, as you guys know exactly what it is, it's like your own hotel. Here's the problem, guys. I've been talking about this really for the last 2 years. Okay. One of the biggest market implosions you are going to see is the Airbnb market. Actually, I'm not even telling you it's 50-50. I'm telling you it's coming. Why? Okay. You guys have any idea what's going on with the economy? It's brutal. Okay. There is such negative economic news coming out. And obviously, you guys know what's going on with the interest rate and Federal Reserve. The stock market's imploding. Airbnbs, do you think people are just going to travel uncontrollably and book the Airbnbs? Airbnbs is a brilliant setup that was kind of emulated off of Uber, where they run the basically hotel space, but they don't own any real estate. So here's the problem is, what happens with Airbnb when someone will pay $150 a night for a place that should only get about $1,500 a month, the numbers get super inflated. And then people start overpaying for these properties. And guess what? When the economy starts to cool, interest rates are high, the cash flow comes to a halt on Airbnbs. Airbnbs are struggling. Why? I just looked at the corporate report on Airbnbs. Their revenue is down massively. So you got to understand they make money off every transaction on Airbnbs. So it's Airbnb, VRBO, all these. If their bookings are way down and they're down over 55% from what I saw, imagine what the people who own these Airbnbs, imagine what's going to start happening over the next 6 to 12 months. Guys, they way overpaid for these properties and it's going to be really problematic. And I'm telling you, the Airbnb market is going to be flooded with either short sales or people just trying to dump the properties as fast as they can. So the problem is Airbnbs, those types of properties are designed for tourist destinations, something that's on the water. It's got a beautiful view. They are not designed for homes in Port St. Lucie and renting them out room by room. Well, I paid $350,000 because I get $5,000 of cash flow a month. I go, yeah, but it's only supposed to rent for like $2,500 a month. That is going to bite most of these people in the butt. So when you see Airbnb, VRBO, which are all public companies, I know Airbnb is. I'm not a VRBO is. I think it's owned by Airbnb. When their revenue is down over 50%, oh my God, it's out of control, guys. Can you imagine what's going to happen? So stay tuned because I'm telling you, the Airbnbs, these people are going to be ripe for selling these things because they're not going to have a choice. Because I only think the strongest destinations are going to survive: waterfront, beach, classic places, Florida Keys, Amelia Island, stuff like that. But like Port St. Lucie and like inland, like Dade County, like no one's going to, the revenue is going to be cut so short, it's going to be painful. And the person who's going to suffer is the person that owns that property. Because think about it. Airbnb is the perfect system. They get a piece of all the transactions, but they don't own any real estate. Same thing as Uber. They have the largest infrastructure of drivers in the world, but they don't own any cars. It's insane. So, guys, keep in mind. So you can wholesale on Airbnb, but I'm just telling you, you're going to have major, major issues coming up on that. So, okay. So since nobody wants to join me online, by the way, you go online, you don't have to even show me your face. I've seen people pop up and pop out. So if you want to hop back in, I'm happy to answer that. So let's see here. Young says everything he says correlates in real life. If you ain't living right, you ain't wholesaling right. And so that's what a lot of it I've talked about. What's up, Christian? Christian says, hey, Rick, I have a quick question. Approaching agents that are promoting on Instagram distressed properties that need cash buyers, could I reach out and wholesale? Absolutely. You just make sure you have an assignable contract. That's the main thing. You have to have assignable contracts, guys. You have to have assignable contracts. So, so once again, Christian, you manage their commissions just by paying them. So if you get a truly good distressed property, typically most agents are getting 3%. I usually give them between 1.5% and like 2.5%. That's normally how you do it. But remember, your end buyer is going to wind up ultimately paying that commission. So it's no sweat off your back. So somebody asked, how do I approach the Airbnb space? I'm telling you right now, I just watch listings in an area you're targeting, and it's going to be bad. I'm just telling you, I see severe meltdown in Airbnb. And guys, you might have heard it here first. I thought what these Airbnbs have been trading for the last few years has been absolutely insane. So I would not be surprised to see a major dip in these Airbnbs. And I'm telling you, the company's reporting a 55% reduction in income. Remember, they don't own the real estate, so someone's got to pay that price. So it's coming to a market near you. I promise you. So it is critical there. So let's see here. Okay. Come on, guys. I won't bite you. I promise you. Christina asked, Hello, Rick. Do we need an attorney or use them title company if needed? Once again, it depends on which state you're in. So let me know what state you're in. That will help out. But if you reach out to a title company you want to do business with you, and they'll usually give you instructions. Some states you have to have an attorney close. The wonderful state of Florida, you don't. So kind of figure out which one's going to work for you on that one. So um, Sheila says, how do you juggle everything and stay laser focused? I work full time as a nurse. My daughter's a nurse, by the way. Appreciate it. 3 kiddos, all under 4, and my life feels chaotic at times. I want more time to cold call, but I watch my kiddos on days off. So Sheila, like, you're not alone. So you guys got to understand, I did wholesaling while I had 2 small children and a full-time corporate job and a mortgage that I probably couldn't afford at the time, and had a wife staring at me like, what are you, nuts? So the easy thing for me to do, Sheila, and we're talking about like, being at the top level, was just to stay in that job. So my mortgage was paid. So my wife wouldn't complain. And my kids always had food on the table. But I decided, let's go for it, because I am absolutely miserable. And here's the funny thing is, I want you to understand that money alone does not make you happy. I see wealthy friends all the time. They're miserable. How do billionaires get miserable? So if you understand that you can be miserable at any time, you might as well choose to be happy. So if you don't like your job, make a decision to change. You can always go back to, I get it. But I'm going to tell you, Sheila, right now, as crazy as you think those kids are, one day they're just going to grow up and they're going to leave. And the question is, what legacy and what lessons have you taught them to make their life more enjoyable than yours is to a point? I want you to enjoy everything, but I'm just telling you, man, I had no idea where wholesaling was going when I first had 2 little kids. I just knew it couldn't be any worse than what I was doing. So I took a risk, I took a gamble, and I did it. So I commend you for everything you're doing. My daughter has taken the nursing path, and she's gone on to, I guess it's her doctorate to do all that stuff. And I mean, she's really young. So, but that, you know what? It makes her happy, and it's what she wants to do. So I love it what you're doing, but like, I would do anything to have those little kids like bouncing around, man. Like, you miss it quick. You guys know, if you're a parent on here, like what we bitch about, like our kids, oh my God, it's so exhausting, and diapers. You just turn around one day and they're like 21. And so the real challenge of being a parent, in my opinion, I'm going to give you like fatherly advice now, is you have to raise your kids to be responsible, point them in the direction of discipline, and let them find a career path with your support that will enable them a lifestyle of true freedom and happiness in their life. And to me, working for corporate America, it's a good fit for some, but for most people, the studies show 70% of the people hate what they do for a living. How can 7 out of 10 people hate what they do for a living? Why? Because we all settle. And she's like, I've been in this. I settled. First to admit it, I didn't know any better. And one day I had a rude awakening. I just decided, this sucks. I don't care. Like, honestly, I would rather live in a trailer than live this fake lifestyle. I'm tired of like leasing cars. And I'm going to be honest with you. The whole mortgage thing is, you're basically renting a house from a bank. It's just until you pay it off. And even then, you still got to pay the property taxes. You have to pay the insurance. It never stops with the maintenance and stuff like that. So if you want true freedom, you don't want a mortgage anymore, you want to write your own script, are you willing to do anything to get in that top 1%? And that's what I decided. Sheila, I was just like you. I just decided, hell, it couldn't be any worse than what I'm dealing with now. And that's how I made my decision. And you guys might like laugh at that. I swear to you, that's exactly how it happened. So I hope I shed some light on you. Hang in there. This too shall pass. And I promise you, when your kids get teenagers, you're going to wish they were babies, because it's stressful when they're teenagers, because, nobody wants their babies hurt. I can't tell you, for the longest time, I didn't like, I could never let my kids do wholesaling. I thought I was protecting them. And the reality is, it was God's way of telling me, this is the best path for your son, because it'll give him the most creativity, the most freedom, and it'll allow him to truly help out as many people as possible. So I took a risk, Sheila. I obviously, you're taking a risk. I don't want to lose another nurse. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of like quality nurses have left the industry. So if you can do both, that'd be great. I know a lot of people that do both. You get the benefits from some corporations, and you can do this. A lot of wholesaling can be done part-time. And if that's what you want, it makes you happy, go for it. But God, the little kids, God, I miss them. Now you got me all like tearing up here. So Olivia says she sees Airbnbs popping up. Guys, we've just started with Airbnb. We haven't even you've got probably 2 years of this that's going to go down. So if you're thinking about buying an Airbnb or anything like right now, wait. You haven't even seen the slightest bit of pain yet. Okay, last one, and I promise I'll answer live on it. Ramon says, hey, Rick, can you go into detail about wholesaling commercial property? Here's the really cool part. It's the exact same. I do it all the time. It's no different. It's a little bit more paperwork, a little bit more, a lot more sophisticated sellers, and you got to be extremely patient. And commercial property is not about beating them up on price solely. Okay, so it's not different. Actually, one of my first deals I did was commercial, and I was clueless. I barely could do a single family home. So, what's up, Brandon? You there?
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
What's up?
What's I'm just hanging out, man. I'm just killing a little time before I gotta go work out because I missed my 6 a.m. workout like alarm clock because I was watching a football game last night.
Yeah, well, thank you for putting this on. I really appreciate you. My question is, I was thinking about trying to wholesale in California. What are your thoughts?
What parts of California?
The Bay Area.
Okay. That's challenging, man. So I went and visited your backyard this summer over there. If you're talking about San Francisco Bay and the surrounding area, it's tough. I'm not going to sit here and even like BS you. No, so I do have a good friend that lives over there, and we've been conversing online probably for the last 7-8 years. And I went and spent some time with him, and he showed me projects. Now he does it, but on average, he makes $300,000 to $600,000 on his average like assignment deal. But he's his number one technique is connecting with real estate agents. But he's been doing it 20 years plus. So I'm not going to sit here and go, hey, is there an opportunity? It is, but for the reality is, boy, unless you got really, really deep contacts and you know every street, it's challenging because they are much more advanced buyers. People who buy multi-million-dollar properties, they just don't do it on a whim. They know what they're doing for the most part. So do you live locally in the area?
No, I don't. I grew up there. My mom does. So we were thinking about doing it. But I don't know. Maybe it sounds like I should move on to another area.
It's a big starting number, man. Like I was in shock when like he showed me some of the, we're looking at like $1.2 million like trashed houses. I'm like, oh my God. Like, and then I saw one that I thought it was so bad. I think the asking price was $700,000. So honestly, I would steer you away from that market as a beginner. So San Francisco, Manhattan, Miami, and LA, those are tough places to start in wholesaling. It's just, you're in a different world now. It would be very challenging in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, man. Let me know if I can help you out with anything else. Christian, you there?
Yes, sir.
What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Really quickly, can you explain why those markets would be tough? Like, for example, I live in New York, and I would really like to get into it, but I don't live in Manhattan.
Okay.
But I'm just curious. I understand maybe the prices would be higher, but what would make it harder to find a buyer if they're used to the prices?
Here's the challenge is most wholesalers starting out, let's be honest, not a lot of resources, not a lot of capital, and they're trying to put money in their bank account. Okay. So you need to find someone that is a highly motivated seller. There's not a lot of motivated sellers in San Francisco, Manhattan, LA, and Miami. Okay. Because There's always a standing market to buy them because it's such an established market. And the reality is, say you contract a property for $900,000 that needs a full rehab. They're going to beat you up so bad about a deposit and payment, you're never going to get past it. I'm just telling you, like, that's the reality of it. When you start talking about houses under 200,000, most of these sellers, they could care less. And that's the difference. So if I owned like a vacant piece of land in like LA and I had it on the market for 800,000 and say you're a wholesaler, and I go, I could let it go for like maybe 725. I'm like, that's fine. I go, listen, just give me a 10% deposit and then we'll send everything over to the title company. And then you're going to try to walk your way through on how you're going to get around it. And I'm not going to let you through because I don't want to waste my time. So
and I don't have
the bottom, yeah. So the bottom line is they're more sophisticated sellers at those price points. Okay.
Okay.
And that's the challenge. The average person does not buy $1 million home and you got to understand their motivation to sell. Some of them can wait 10 years for a market to correct. Now, if I buy a home for $180,000 and say, I don't know, say Nebraska or something like that, and I lost my job and you come along and it sounds pretty attractive, I'm going to find a way to work with you.
Sure.
Period. And that's it. I'm not saying it can't be done. It can be done, but you are going to beat your head against the wall for a long time. And if you don't have capital to back you up, it's really challenging. Like it would be hard for yourself to prove to someone at that caliber and level. Listen, I don't write the rules. I'm just telling you the reality of it. Like I don't let wholesalers buy my properties. Like I'm like, listen, I love you guys, but I've been through this. Like I know it. So if I put one of my commercial properties on the market for say 2 million, I still have wholesalers and I commend them for reaching out to me, but I need a deposit. And if you don't have it, I'm not going to take you seriously. And then I'm going to tell them, listen, just send over a proof of funds. You said you're cash. Man, when you start talking about like $1 million properties, it's hard to BS that stuff. And I don't want you guys lying at all. The way we teach it at Free Wholesaling, we want you to be forthright and honest. So you want to look for markets where you have average median prices, like at or below, and you need to look at it. So I tell everyone, try to stay under 300,000. And you got to understand, 3 years ago, we were talking about staying below like 150,000. So like I'm in Florida, my average price point is like mid 400s. And you got to understand, I started buying houses at $20,000 and $30,000 when I started out. Wow. So I've watched this market mature. South Florida is quickly getting to a point where it's a pain in the butt, but I still wholesale, but I'm backed up with a lot of capital and I can do a lot of things you guys can't, but I've been doing this 20 years. My first 5 years, dude, 100% assignment of contract. Like I had no money. I was broke. I just knew how to hustle and move. So I don't want you to beat your head against the wall. I'm not saying it can't be done. It can be done, but you usually got to have somebody like backing you up and doing it. So when you have established mature markets where everybody wants to go, like San Diego, that's a brutal one too. Why? Because it's probably the most perfect weather in the United States if you like that stuff. No snow, always cool, low humidity, the sun's always out. Other than the political climate, like what else can you knock in California? Like I went and visited that state. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it. But I wouldn't live there a long time because I think the government already takes too much of my money. You guys heard me written about that earlier. I'm like, I'm not going to go throw, we don't pay state income tax in the state of Florida. We pay a corporate tax. We don't pay an income tax. So
correct.
The thing in wholesaling, you got to find a place where you're going to have success. Most likely you're going to have success with markets you know best, but I put a caveat on it. If you're one of these ridiculously expensive $1 million priced markets, you are going to have a tough time working yourself around these sellers. They're a pain in the butt. Okay. They're not your average people going to get an FHA mortgage. So the beauty of virtual wholesaling is you can pick any market you want to start in, and then you can live wherever you want to go. It has its own challenges by doing that. By all means, if you can do local, do local. But remember, if I'm in the Valley, I'm in the Bay. If you can find one deal a year and make $200,000 or $300,000, that's better than any guy who does. I don't care if you flip 50 or 60 properties. To me, that's amazing if you can do one property. There's people that do that, but it's risky, man. Like sometimes you don't always make it. So you got to kind of like, I think markets are going to adjust here, but like I will tell you, the Southeast part of the United States, outside of South Florida, dude, it's ripe. These prices are
Okay.
not going to stay at these numbers much longer, because between California and the Northeast and now Utah and all that stuff, their prices are pushing so high. Everyone's being squeezed. Eventually,
Gotcha. Okay, that
go
makes
to
sense
another
actually.
country and try to buy a property other than maybe like Greece or something like that. You'd be in shock how hard it is to buy a property. So a lot of people are coming in by America, buying up properties. And, think about it. When I first got married, I wasn't in wholesaling. I was in corporate America. I thought $100,000 for a house, I thought I was going to die. So part of it was my mindset. It was a poor, broke mindset, but now I can look at it, but it's all relative, the amount of money going around. So you just got to find pockets where you think the growth's going to go, where it's still affordable living, where any family can move. And number two, always, I kind of look at the weather. But the Northeast is established because that's where America kind of started. So it had like, a huge head start on everybody else. And then everybody kind of migrated from there. So.
Okay. All right. And then
Okay.
the real reason why I was, I guess my real question that I wanted to ask you,
Ask
but I
it.
just was curious about it because the previous caller mentioned it.
Uh-huh.
But my real question is, so on like my own social media, I see a few agents that are promoting that they have like, I guess, distressed properties that need cash buyers.
Okay.
So I was curious, is there a way to approach them and like still wholesale the deal, even though it seems like what they're trying to do is wholesale the deal?
You can, but so number one, it's all relative. So if they're struggling selling the properties and they're not getting showings and they're not getting any feedback, and it's still sitting on the market, as time goes by, your odds of getting a wholesale deal can increase. Meaning, because when properties sit on the market for a long time, they go stale after a few months. Like they're like,
Sure.
what's wrong with this property? You're going to
So
see
I
that more. You're going to see that more and more going on. The reality is, most real estate agents don't understand wholesalers, or what little they know about it, they have a negative connotation about it. So
sure.
don't approach them as a wholesaler. Just say, listen, I'm a cash buyer. And just talk about the property and see if the numbers fit before you even go into the detailed explanation of what you're going to do, because most of the time you're wasting your time. Like most numbers don't work on MLS. That's why it's on MLS. It has to get
For sure.
retail. But
So these properties are not listed. So they're looking for a cash buyer, right? So I don't think this agent is listing them at all. And she even is providing the cash number they need, the ARV for the area.
yeah.
So it seems interesting.
Well, I have a conversation with them. Like some of my best deals have worked from conversations that honestly, initially I was scared to do, and it wound up being an incredible source for me over like a 10-year period. So the
That's
worst
what I
case
was
scenario is you have
curious
a
about.
conversation and you make
Yeah.
a friend. But like, don't use the word wholesale. I'm just telling, with wholesale and real estate agents, it's like oil and water.
Okay, so should I
Just say, listen,
approach it as an
I have
investor?
buyers, and just say, listen, I have a unique group of buyers I work with that might have interest in these properties. Can you shed some more light on them and see what he or she says? And just
Okay.
see if the numbers work. There's no point in going knee deep into a real estate agent if
Sure.
some agents they will not work with a real estate investor or a wholesaler because they had a bad experience. So it's like, you ever heard that person? Like, I had a bad experience with the dentist, so I don't want to go back to the dentist, or I had a bad experience with a real estate agent. So I always snuff real estate agents out, because a majority of you guys spend too much time pitching real estate agents that don't even want to do business with you. So just
Okay.
theoretically go, listen, I got some buyers I work with. Usually they go, oh, so are you a real estate agent? Go, no, I acquired, properties like the ones you're listing. But the numbers got to work. If the numbers don't work, there's nothing I can do. So I'm telling them briefly what I do, and then I'm pulling away to see if they're going to chase me a little bit, because I can contact 100 realtors on the deals. I might get 5 to 7 of them that'll talk to me, and maybe 1 or 2 of them are for real. Unfortunately, those are the numbers. Now, those numbers are going to change as the market changes. But guys, if you don't have conversation, you never know what's going to happen with it. I once
That's
did a
very
deal. I
true.
swear to God, I went to an auction. Just out of curiosity, because I bought a bunch of properties in this area. In a very similar market we're having now, like 35 people showed up at the auction. I'm like, oh, great. Like, I don't buy properties ever at an auction. Well, they set some ridiculous reserve for it and nobody bid it on the property. And then I noticed the little old lady started crying and the broker's like, we'll figure something out. That's what he said. So I waited till everybody left. I sat down. I said, broker, do you mind? Can I have a conversation with you? I want to respect you. I know this is your seller and I know you're contracted on this property. He goes, yeah. He goes, you know what he said to me? He goes, you got an offer for me? I go, I think I do, but like, I need to know what the hell's going on here. And so I wait to see if they were open to him. I didn't attack them with an offer. And so guys, sometimes timing is everything. The market is changing, guys. We're getting ready to roll into the holidays. You guys, this is only going to get worse on MLS. You guys have all been waiting for this. Like, you've got to be excited about it. But remember, wholesaling is about helping people, like, period. All I do are win-win situations. So if you're going to bring a realtor into it and they're going to find you a deal, you got to let them know what the win is for them. So make sure you take care of their commissions. The only other problem I have with the real estate agents is like, well, Rick, if you buy this property, when can I represent and get it sold for you? I go, well, let's see if the deal works out. I never overcommit because the minute you commit to that, they think you're going to do a full fix and flip, and I don't do those. So just be careful when that one comes up, and just remember, test the waters out before you go knee deep. Otherwise, you're going to go on a 10-minute conversation, and they're going to like kick you out the door.
Okay. Yeah. So, because that was my last question was, is this person with that price, is there a commission already going to be in there?
It's all negotiable.
It's all negotiable.
It's all negotiable. So a lot of times, you know, you can kind of, like, most agents are getting 2 to 3% on average. So you can kind of figure out what they expect. But remember, what's 3% of nothing?
0. Okay.
So just say, listen, you know, if I can get this to go through, I usually, 1% usually insults them, but like 2% is enough to get their attention to it. But remember, you got to make up that fee with your new buyer. So like, if you look at it, and honestly, if you're making a huge fee, like, don't get cheap with the realtor, because you want to think about the next deal they're going to bring. Because a realtor that identifies a deal like that, they usually have a history of finding deals like that. So you want to reward
so
them
I've
for
been
it.
following this person for like a very short amount of time.
Okay.
And they've already posted about like 6 different properties that they need a cash buyer for, and it's definitely fix and flip opportunities.
Okay. So here's what I do. I would, so I assume you're just following them online.
Yes.
So we're talking our social media slang. You need to get on the phone and just try to form a relationship with them, because you're just a number until you talk to them. And the idea is you want them to tell you. A lot of times properties aren't selling because there's something they don't want to tell you about it. And the sooner you can get that out, the better the deal you're going to get, and the easier it is to get the deal done. Because what happens, these agents get tired of walking everyone through it. They just get to the point like, well, someone just buy it. They know they got the wrong number. That's why that's why they're working so hard to sell it. Remember, 8 months ago, they could have thrown this on social media. It would have been sold in an hour. Now they're taking like weeks just to get people to contact them. It's only going to get worse, Christian. It's only going to get worse. Okay. You got to reach out, because you have to take a shot. Because if you don't take a shot, I guarantee nothing will happen. Okay.
Yeah. So I was like kind of attempting to reach out, and I reached out in regards to one of the properties that they had listed, I think like a week ago, and she said that it was gone already. So, you know, maybe she got some traction going, maybe she doesn't, but I'm gonna definitely pay attention. I'm gonna play it by ear, and I'm gonna reach out for sure.
Just reach out to them, and maybe you're setting her up for the next property behind it. So you just got to figure out. Eventually, she's gonna have some of these properties that just stick, and they won't move, because cash buyers are getting real smart about what they're paying for stuff. So you got to see what they sell for. But remember, guys, I'm all about working with a real estate agent, but it's tough. Don't let someone think you just contact. There's so many people out there. There's somebody actually out there selling. You ready for this? An MLS wholesale course. I can give you the course in about a minute. Okay. All you're going to do is take all the properties on the market, and you're just going to email everyone offers, and you're going to have to send 100 to 300 per day. That's the course. Just send your $5,000 in. There's nothing yet, because the MLS is a very cold transaction for wholesalers. It's just a number. So like, we're not emotionally invested in the properties. That's why it doesn't work well. their sellers are very emotionally attached to the properties, and that's why our offers really insult them. So we teach you about how to build rapport through freewholesaling.com, so you can soft blow them to hit them with that really low offer and make sure you don't get kicked out. In MLS, you got to find one realtor out of 100 that's not going to kick you out of an email, which is hard to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Yeah,
okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, man. See you. Charlie.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on, man? What can I help you out with today?
You hear me all right? I've never been on a live
perfectly
before.
loud and clear, man.
Perfect. Oh, it's going good, man. I'm actually just getting going. I found you guys not too long ago. I run a handyman business, so it's kind of all coming together like perfect. I see great opportunity in this. I've been watching real estate for a hot minute last few years, just kind of getting familiar. I see that there's a couple of events coming up. One of them is an auction for a foreclosure, so I'm sure I'm going to be able to find buyers there, right?
So that's a great place to find buyers. You don't want to be the bidder because in this business, whoever pays the most usually gets screwed. I'm just telling you how wholesaling works. Our whole thing is never ever to pay the most. So
My goal is to meet people.
There you go. It's one of the best. Actually, it's one of my favorite places to do it. Actually, I just went to one last week for a commercial one. And by the way, they have commercial ones too if you guys want to step up your game, man. And the reason you go to commercial ones, not necessarily to find commercial properties, but you can find some of your best soft money people there because people are there with millions of dollars looking to spend it right there. You go, listen, I don't have a $2 million project, but I got a $250,000 project for you. And that's how I got a lot of my private investors when I didn't know anybody. So,
but
good, yeah, go there, take cards and just talk to everybody and just make sure you don't, the auctioneer, just try not to piss them off. In our town, a lot of people go up and take a picture of the registration. It's just a piece of paper. And that's one way you'll get chased around with like a baseball bat because they work hard to get those lists and it's not fair. That's like stealing. It's so bad now. They keep it like on a filtered computer. And they figured it out. Yeah. Because it's because you get 30, 40 people, you get their phone numbers and email on a click of a button. You ain't got to talk to anybody. And then the art of networking with people falls apart. So I love going to those things, man. I think it's a good move. And then plus you'll find out who the movers and shakers are. And that's where I find my best real estate agents. A real estate agent that will go out on a Saturday, look at a property for their cash buyer and try to buy it sight unseen. I want to get to know that agent like really, really good. They're the best agents in the world.
So then if I approach these people, how do you feel about this as kind of like my pitch? You know, I'm going to go in there and when I start shaking hands, I'm just going to let these people know, hey, I'm a local handyman actually in the area. I work with a group of investors. Yeah. And I'm just looking to see if I can expand my agent outreach because I keep coming across some really good properties that I see great potential in. And the people that I'm fixing up their kitchen sink or something, they want to sell, but they don't want to deal with it anymore. And, you know, that's a good little pitch, you think, man?
Just simplify it, though. It's like you got a lot going on there. Just simplify it. Are you interested in discounted properties? I come across them all the time. I'd love to connect with you. Simple. Guys, like the reality is if you don't know someone, you got about a 7 to 9 second attention span on what they say. So the first words are coming out, they got to be the most important. So I always tell people whenever you're trying to like get your point across to someone, pretend you have 100% of your information and take and condense the most 20% of what you have to like get your point across. Like assume you're on like a news reporting station. They go, okay, Charlie, you got 10 seconds, like here, shoot. And you're like, you're probably going to spend 3 or 4 seconds trying to gather yourself and compose yourself. So just get your elevator speech and just get it done. I have access to discounted properties. It's something you're interested in. Like it can't be cheesy. It's got to be kind of hard and just real simple.
And now what do you think about proof of funds online? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but there's a guy saying like you could just go online, type your information in, your business, and then they'll email you a proof of funds. Is that legit or is that something you want to be wary of?
Well, for a really stupid buyer, I guess it's legit. So here's the problem with it. So for us as wholesalers, what would you consider a legitimate proof of funds if you had a property and you were trying to wholesale it and assign it to a cash buyer, what would you accept personally?
An actual screenshot probably of that money, not just some letter.
And where?
Of
Are
their
you going
bank.
to take a Word document? You're going to take an Excel spreadsheet?
No, I'm gonna take I want to see your bank.
I want to see a bank emblem on it with some fancy numbers on it. I don't need the whole account number, and I need to see a page number on the bottom with a date. You can't make they can still doctrinate that, but man, you're gonna have to work hard to do that. I had someone the other day. I get this all the time. I sell a lot of properties, and the agents will come to me. They go, "Hey, look at this. They're offering like 20% above market price, but here's their proof of funds." And their proof of funds is literally. So I had one property this week. I got 6 of the exact same proof of funds, all in the same template, all with the same header on it. Like, I'm not stupid, man. Like, this is what happens is if you get too cute with people, like, they figure it out. There's some people that just type up a document. Richard Ginn is approved for up to $256,000 to buy your properties. Let me know if you have any questions. It's not a proof of funds. That's a letter. So if like you're sending like a love letter to your girlfriend, I guess that'll qualify. It would never qualify in my book. I would just stay away from that stuff, dude, because it's going to walk you down. It's going to walk you down such a road you don't want to go down to, because you're going to have to start being deceiving and being deceptive. And I always tell you guys up front, the more honest you are up front, the easier it is to tell the truth. And because once you start telling a lie, now you have to track it, and you got to keep them all right. And then eventually you're going to screw it up, especially if you're new to it. So
transparency, man.
Proof of funds, an easy hack for this is go out and find good cash buyers you want to work with and use to buy your properties. And then eventually you work up to get their proof of funds. I've been known to use their proof of funds to buy my properties. Why? Because I'm going to assign it to them anyways, and it's more than qualifying. And honestly, a proof of funds, you're not giving away anything terrible. Like I always like block people's names out and stuff like that to a point, but I've gotten away with that no problem. It's one of the easiest ways people like you can work around it. Okay. Number 2, don't make proof of funds like a stalemate. I'm going to tell you, truly motivated sellers, they don't care. You know who cares? You know who cares the most? Pain in the ass sellers. Your Karens out there, the chronic, my house is worth $396,000. I don't care. Like, honestly, I can't pay more than $150. So where's your proof of funds? Karen, we're so far apart. And like, honestly, you have no motivation. You need a realtor. And like, you guys can't send proof of funds to people like that. For the most part, motivated sellers, they just want the house sold. So guys, understand a proof of funds, it doesn't mean anything. And by the way, the worst proof of funds, in my opinion, you ready for this? It's hard money, because that's almost worse than a loan. It's got to be underwritten. They want to inspect the property. They want a survey. They want an inspection. It's just painful. And the private investor can pull the money away the day of the closing. So actually, banks are more committed to me than private lenders when it comes to hard money. So like, honestly, if someone's beating you up over a proof of funds, you got to start asking yourself, are they really motivated? Because if you don't have a smoking price and you're beating you up on an average price, you're in the wrong area to buy these properties. So most motivated sellers do not care. Why? I probably bought up 400 properties with zero deposit, zero. In the end, people just want to know if you're going to come through or not. Because the reality is your deposit goes to the title company. Then they never really even see it anyway. So the problem is the internet. Everyone tells them and their neighbors and the realtor, you've got to get a deposit to make sure they're real. There's no law that says a contract that has to have a deposit unless it's specified in the contract. You can put 0 on there. The problem is when you put 0 or $10 or even $100, sometimes the sellers feel like you scammed them a little bit. And it's not them. It's when they talk to their neighbors and friends. They're like, $100. How is he serious? And then they'll go like this. I don't think you have a real contract. There's not really a deposit.
On the earnest.
You can sue somebody over that, but I don't sue people over contracts unless like they really like do something bad. So the proof of funds, honestly, most of you guys create it in your mind, and it's not as big of a deal as you think it is. And especially in a market like this, Do you want to focus on a proof of funds or me buying your house?
Yeah, it
And by the
sounds
way,
like it's elimination.
yeah,
You just-
I work with multiple cash partners I work with. So sometimes we have different ones, but I can get you, I go, but I want to focus on buying your property. So worst case scenario, if you're having somebody problem, here's $500. You're going to put it in escrow. And then when you get your buyer, you get your $500 back. Guys, once you go past 500, when are you going to stop? What, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000? It's never going to stop. And that's the problem is, I want to buy your property. I don't want to sit here and like screw around with proof of funds and deposits. But guys, the sketchier the deal is, meaning if you don't like it, make sure you have longer inspection periods and tiny, tiny little escrows. So on a bad deal, I won't leave more than $100 because I want to be chasing my money around. So right now, I have $1,800 out and just like BS $100 deposits. And my accountant's like, you're just going to write it off because they're never going to release the money.
So like with escrow and attorneys, because I live in Iowa, but I service Iowa and Nebraska.
Okay.
Attorneys, I'm just bypassing the title company. Is the escrow then it's written in that contract that you guys provide? And then I just have to double check that with my attorney and make sure it flies in this state.
So, I mean, there's only really two places to leave a deposit. You can leave it with the homeowner, which I highly advise against ever doing that unless you really know what you're doing and you understand you're taking a massive risk. Or number two, you leave it with an escrow company, which can be managed by the title company, can be managed by a lawyer. An escrow company just means they're neutral. They're neutral, which means I'm here to put the money in and make sure everybody honors their agreement. But the reality is, if you ever get into the spot a dispute over earnest money deposit, it's not the escrow company's job to decide who gets it. So if two people can't agree to release money, it goes to your state and then you get to fight it out in court. Here's the reality is, let me ask you this. If you have $100 deposit, are you going to go to court and fight for it? Because it's going to cost you $400 an hour to fight for it. So the problem is if you have a $10,000 deposit, you actually have to go and fight for it. And you might walk away with a couple grand when it's all said and done. So on shaky deals, guys, do little to no deposit because odds are you're probably going to get out of the contract and you don't want to chase around your deposit. Or you can write in the contract, you can set the deposit to become live upon after your inspection period. So if you set a 30-day inspection period and it's like a shaky deal and you're just giving it a shot, then you don't leave money till after the 30th day. Most real estate contracts, they wait 3 to 5 business days before they even leave a deposit. Why? Because the realtors get tired of chasing around people's deposit. It's like a lot of work. So remember, every time you deposit a check somewhere, it's like usually 7 business days before they can move it to another account. So now on the flip side, if somebody goes like you're doing an estimate job on it and you just go, hey, ma'am, I go, listen, you ever consider just selling the house? She's like, make me an offer. And you use my go for no tactic. And she's like, okay, I don't care if the deposit's $50,000, figure it out. Call me, do whatever you got to do. Because if you're buying a house 30 to 50 cents on the dollar, do not get lost on the deposit. It's just a hurdle. And for that kind of money, you can bring in cash partners and like get it done. So I will do $10,000 deposits. The catch is you've got to give me something for that. I'll give you the deposit, but I got to get a smoking deal. Guys, if you don't have a smoking deal, don't leave a huge giant deposit. It's just, there's no incentive for you. And they're just going to keep like sucking you in and it's never going to end. Motivated sellers do not beat you up all the way to the end. Okay. Pain in the ass sellers beat you up front and it never stops. Heed the warning. Okay. And like, you'll know, guys, you should all be pulling back in these markets because the buyers are not nearly as thick as they were 6 months ago.
That's what I'm talking about. Getting right. All right. Well, thanks, Rick.
You got it, man. Okay, man. Have a good one. See you. Okay. So Karina says, hey, Rick, what do you say to a seller who wants to take out the inspection period in a contract? No, N-O, not happening. He wants me to decide on the appointment we have set to see the property, whether or not I would want to buy the property. He doesn't want him held up because he's trying to sell fast. So we won't sign the contract. So here's the key, Karina. If he wants to sell fast, you give him your go for no price and you'll waive the inspection, you better be getting an insane discount. Okay. Because the key is sell fast. He's going to have to work with some sort of investor or wholesaler, and they're all going to have the same requirements. So you have to protect yourself within an inspection period, because what if something's wrong with the house? You have no recourse. Now, if he wants to give you a substantial discount, it might be worth going for it, but you might want to partner up with somebody on that. But you have to go for the go for no price. Guys, the key is when somebody asks for something, you got to get something in exchange for it. Okay. So if it's, hey, Rick, I want to waive the inspection period. Well, if you can do this price, I'll consider it. And just hit them and shut them up. And when they say, hey, I got to sell fast, I go, I get it, but I got to make sure it's a good deal for both of us. So hopefully that helps you out with that. So Adrian, you there?
Hello?
Yes.
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Good, man. What's going on?
I'm all right, man. First time calling. I've been following you guys for a little bit now.
All right. Well, good, man. Hey, can somebody smash that like button? I mean, I got one like, dude. I'm dying here. I'm dying. Let's go. And guys, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Go ahead. I'm listening.
So I started following your platform on freewholesaling.com.
Okay.
I want to get into the virtual wholesaling. I'm from New York originally, but I live in LA. Two very not really good markets to work in.
Yeah, I agree.
I recently got PropStream. I do a lot of cold calling on there, but a lot of the numbers are not on the do not call list, and a lot of the numbers just go straight to voicemail. And sometimes there'll be times I'll pull the same list in the same area, and I realize I get the same contacts over again. So do you suggest maybe pulling lists from 2 or 3 different cities, or just focusing on one zip code or one city at a time?
Well, it's up. So one of the things is, so having an account with PropStream, which, by the way, guys, a highly reputable company that's not going anywhere, that has ready for this, an entire customer service department. Okay. A lot of it, you guys use these fly by night, skip tray services. So there's nobody to contact. So if the information's bad, you're stuck. So what I would do is, if you have a new account with PropStream, just reach out to their customer service department and see if you're missing something. Okay. It doesn't cost you anything. That's what I would do. We recently had an issue with the same thing, and we found one tiny little snafu, and we were able to fix it by 20%. So first of all, reach out. So all the companies that we recommend on this channel, they're all high quality, they're highly vetted. I do not work with companies that have VAs for customer service, and you guys know what I'm talking about. I just can't deal with it, because then you guys call me and Zach and go, oh, what's this company? Do PropStream? You're not going to have any issues. You're not going to have any issues with Batch either. That's why I like to use companies like this.
Yeah, the customer service is good. I called them and they said sometimes their information doesn't get up to a month afterwards. So I'm thinking I'm gonna give you an example. Let's say I pull a list for Knoxville, I get about 200 to 300 list leads, potential leads or whatever, and then I'll call all of those. Do you think maybe try maybe Dayton, Ohio, a week after, and then go back to Knoxville a month later?
Well, I would do at least a 30-day rotation and see if it's a chronic, consistent problem. So I go, am I just doing something wrong, or is the data this far behind? Listen, no skip trace service is perfect. At one point when I did this business on the mass scale, and it was hard in Florida, we had a ridiculous contract. So we used IDI, and they're in South Florida, and it was, if I told you what the bill was, you wouldn't even believe me. And I used to are you people hey, here's all the rejects for the day. I'm you got to be kidding me. I paid thousands of dollars for that information today. We're talking about $30,000, $40,000 skip trace bills. And number one, they're not perfect. And you're never going to find a perfect one. You just got to find the one the most tolerable and the most reliable. So some people really like PropStream. Some people really like Batch. One's a little more expensive than the other. I ain't going to tell you how this works, but you have to find which one you're most comfortable with. So it's one you're going to pay a little bit more. One's a lot more convenient and cheaper. And what I would do is do the rotation like you're already talking about and see if it's a chronic problem. Because if you jump to an entirely another market that far away and you have the exact same problem, you kind of have your answer.
Okay.
Like guys, I just let you know, skip tracing is never designed to be 100%. Skip tracing means they're trying to figure out what that person's number is. That's why you have companies that do like multiple numbers. Some companies only do one. Some will bang you for all three numbers. And when you start getting down to these companies, here's the problem is investors start creating their own little services. Oh, I have the greatest skip trace company in the world. No, they don't. What they're doing is they paid for a contract, and to offset the cost, they outsource it to you. They are the customer service. They are the complaint department. They are the ones that do the data. And eventually you're going to be left hung out to dry. So I see them all the time. Somebody marketed me the other day. I go, where do you get your source? He goes, we get them raw. You can't afford it. It's millions of dollars. It costs you $3 to $5 million to extract that data yourself. So I love when people say, yeah, I go, okay. So you flipped 40 properties and now you're a $5 million data company. It's ridiculous. So stick to the big ones, PropStream or batch. I would do exactly what you said you're going to do. That's what I would do. And then see if it can persist, try to troubleshoot. And worst thing is you can amputate and find another service, but do not use these little tiny services. They're not worth it. And a lot of these guys are advertising like really low rates. You guys, I'm just telling you, not only are they going to take your data and call it on top of it too, like you have no idea what's going to happen with it. So I see this all the time. I got VAs that try to sell me, all you guys that try to skip trace for like super cheap, they try to sell me all your lists online. I get hammered on them. How are they getting it? Because you guys pay them to do this. And then they take that list and then they try to sell it basically everywhere. And that's the problem. If you don't use a reputable service, you have no idea what they're going to do with your data. So just, I would switch markets and then rotate it at least 30 days and see what happens.
Okay. Oh, one more thing. I was on PropStream. I called one of the numbers that came up. I was talking to one of the sellers. He sounded like he was a motivated seller. He said he brought the property for himself. He was going to renovate it and rent it out, but he just got caught up with other things. He said it has some electrical issues. So I was just trying to find out if he was motivated first, right? Told me the condition about it. And he said he's like willing to sell as soon as possible if the numbers are right. And then this is where I got caught up in my head. Like I still have problems with analysis paralysis.
Okay.
Like where I want to know everything. And I didn't do no comps. I feel like I just threw out a number there, and then he agreed with it. But then I was looking on like Redfin, Realtor, and Zillow, and they all had different numbers. And I gave him one of the numbers that was on Redfin. And then I'm like, if that's the estimate that's on Redfin, and he's agreeing with that, I could probably get something lower. I felt like nervous and like not unsure of myself. So I said, I'm going to have to give you a call back. And I just kind of like flipped. I just kind of like, messed that one up right there kind of.
So Adrian, have you gone through freewholesaling.com?
Yeah. I was going to ask you also what I just started. So is freewholesaling.com made, like, should I watch all the videos first or should I take action as I'm watching it?
You got to work through the marketing and acquisition stuff first, because you need to understand how to have the conversation with the seller. So it's great if you can identify a motivated seller, but you got to learn how to have a conversation with them. Otherwise it's a waste of effort. So in this example, like I teach a technique called go for no. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think you used go for no in this deal?
I thought I was going go for no. But
you did go for yes. So this is the problem. And dude, I've been doing this almost 21 years now. Okay. Like there's nothing you haven't experienced that I haven't felt like personally. Okay. The reality is if you throw an offer out there and they say yes, you paid too much for the property. End of story. I can prove this 1,000 times to you. Okay. Unless you get in the high caliber properties, on the lower end properties, if you put out an offer and they shake your hand, you should be scared. It means you left way too much money on the table. So how much did you offer him?
Yeah, I figured that. I offered him 40,000.
Okay. And what's the ARV on it? What's the after repair value, roughly?
Oh,
What's the market price of the house?
hello?
Yeah, you there, Adrian?
Oh, the market price.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was cutting in and out for a second.
that's okay.
The market price,
Yeah, today.
well, on Realtor is the estimate is estimated for like 160.
Okay. Well, then we're missing some numbers here because I assume it needs a lot of rehab, right?
Yeah, I believe I'm looking. See, I look on Realtor, Redfin, and Zillow. They all have like totally different numbers.
So did you try going to the
And
PropStream and see what they came up with?
yeah, PropStream, they had it. I think PropStream, they only have it listed as what it was first purchased for, like in like 1990 something, which was like 11,000.
Yeah. So you do got to kind of figure out what the property's worth to make an educated offer on it. Because if it's worth 160 offered 40, like to me, that's a go for no price. So, and by the way, for the record, I have made offers where I thought I was going for no and they accepted it and it still worked out, but I did leave money on the table. So the purpose of the go for no is to get a counter from them to try to find out where their bottom line number is. Because if you offer too much, you never get down to, the bottom line number. So I would dig in a little bit more because like I'm missing some sort of number. There's like sort of like massive rehab or something going on with the property. But if it's truly with 160 and it doesn't need a lot of rehab, I'll buy it for 40 from you. Like you just don't find those kind of discounts because that's, what is that, like a 60, 70% discount? That doesn't like get it done.
I can't even agree because I'm not 100% sure based off like just these websites.
Then dig into it. It's not too hard to figure out. Like you don't overthink it. Look at the square footage. Is this house, is it virtual or is it in your neighborhood?
It's virtual. Like I live in LA right now, and this was in Dayton, Ohio.
So worst case scenario, put it under contract, put an inspection period, and send a freaking realtor over there to tell you what it's worth. That's what I would do. That's the problem. In virtual, you got to take some risks. So you cannot send somebody over there without it being under contract. So my guess is it needs a ton of rehab, and they're not equating that into the number to make it sense. Because remember, if it needs $100,000 of rehab, that's not a good deal.
Yeah, because
it would be borderline at best.
I think it had a lien on it, or he owed some taxes, which was like.
Well, that comes out of his end. So there's no, whatever they have liens on the property, whatever you agree on the sale price, that just comes out of their proceeds, unless their liens exceed the value of the house, and that's a whole nother story. So find out, and I would dig into it and just see what the best you can. If you're even close when you do it virtually, put it under contract, put an inspection period in there, and send somebody to figure a valuation. And the best way you do it is you got to put eyes on the property, because sometimes stuff doesn't match up to what you see online. 40 grand is a ridiculously cheap house, but it depends on the market too. So, but if you got that kind of numbers, it doesn't need a lot of rehab. I would put it under contract and then put some boots on the ground and take a look at it. But you got to make that determination. That's the risky part of virtual sometimes. Did the seller say if it needed a lot of repairs?
He said the plumbing was fine, the roof was fine. He said definitely needs electrical.
Yeah. So ask him what kind of number he thinks it's going to take to fix it up, and just say, listen, if I put it under contract, I'm going to send my contractor to buy the verify it. So try to get an accurate number for him, and see if you can make heads or tails on the number, and make a decision. If it's close, put it under contract, send somebody by there, and kind of go from there. But that's a deep discount, dude. 70%. I don't get 70%. Like I have a few times, but like extreme circumstances. So just be wary. Sometimes if it sounds too good to be true, you got to be a little bit careful, especially virtually. If you were local, you could drive by the property and figure it out in less than an hour, but you don't have that luxury being virtual. So try to find out what you can about it and just go from there. And if it's even close, put it under contract and then have someone verify it. So I just had a deal like this where we thought we had like $80,000 in profit, And I sent my guy to look at it. He's like, dude, just light it on fire. I'm like, okay, cancel the contract. It happens. That's the beauty of virtual. Like you pick the market, but you can't see it. So your eyes, seller's eyes can be deceptive. But what happens is the seller, after they do that numerous times, they get pretty humbled quickly because they feel like they're wasting a ton of time. So, and another wary thing, if you ever find properties like this where they fall out of contract a lot, that means somebody else before you had a lot of problems with it. And you're just going to get in a long line with it. So ask them what it take to fix it up till you get into contract or buy. And have you had this property under contract before? Just see what they say. Sometimes I'll tell you, yeah, it's been under contract 4 times. When they tell you that, then you know you got a major problem. Nobody walks away from it 4 times, right?
Yeah.
So find out what the problem is you need to solve and see if it's solvable and make some money doing it. Okay?
All right, Rick.
Okay, man. Get it, Adrian. Nice talking to you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Tay, you there?
I'm here.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Mr. Rick?
Good. How are you? You just call me Rick. Don't call me Mr. Rick. You make me feel old.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm just kidding with you. What can I help you out with?
So I got 2 so I have a property. I talked to a guy earlier and he's a motivated seller.
Okay.
And his property he said it's listed as a duplex, but it can be converted into 5 units.
Okay.
And he said I can get it, or it can be rezoned. I don't know anything about rezoning.
Okay.
And he also said that it needs major work, new electric, plumbing, windows, roof.
Okay.
So I just wanted to know if it's even worth it, if this is even worth it. Actually.
So let me teach a little lesson here because I've seen this. It's not my first rodeo. So anyone who tells you about the potential of the property,
Mm-hmm.
you almost have to disregard it, because if it was so easy, why didn't you just do it yourself? It'd be worth 5 times what it's worth now. When you hear the word rezoning,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. So buy it for what it is today and stay focused on what it is right now. So you have to evaluate what is it worth, and it's what does it need for repairs, and what is it going to be worth when the repairs are done. And those are the only 2 numbers you need to factor in there. That's it. The rest is all hearsay, and they use it to distract you. Like, oh, you could do this. My favorite was when a renter goes, they're only renting it for $800, but you could get $2,000. Really? If it was that easy, why didn't you guys do it? Like, there's always a catch to it. So just underwrite it on what it's worth today, and don't worry about all its potential, because if they haven't rezoned it and done it, it means it's hard. Okay. And number 2, understanding when you're doing a major renovation, 50% or more, the city usually has requirements on like what you have to do. Like a lot of times you got to bring it up to like modern standards with plumbing and electrical, and it can be very expensive. So I don't want you doing the rehab, right? You're not going to do the rehab. You're just looking to put a deal together. And if it makes sense, you'll help orchestrate the whole thing. But if it doesn't make sense, don't waste your time. Anybody trying to sell you the potential of a property, here's what I always say. I go, why didn't you just do it yourself then? And just shut up. And they'll always go, well, it's complicated. I don't do complicated. Like, if it's hard for you, why would I even bother doing it? So keep in mind, especially if somebody's owned, my favorite is when someone's owned the property like 10 or 20 years. You could do this, you could do that, you could rezone it, you could add to it. By the way, anybody trying to turn a duplex into, you said a 5-unit, that just screams like a slumlord. That's really bad stuff. That's really bad stuff. So maybe a triplex to a point, but like, how are you going to put 5 units if only 2 fit there? Like, it's ridiculous. Unless they're like, what's the square footage on them?
It is over 5,000.
That's, now I will be honest with you, that is a big duplex, but keep in mind that you have city laws and ordinances to protect people, like firewalls. Like when you start putting multiple people in the same dwelling, so to speak, There's
Mhm.
rules. Like, so if one unit catches on fire, there's got to be a firewall to prevent all of them from burning down. So it would be very cost prohibitive. And plus you'd have to make the footprint. But he's saying, my God, but if you had to do that, so you could technically do, I will tell you 2,500 is pretty big low. Like, so most duplexes are 1,000 to maybe 1,200 square feet on their best
Mhm.
day. So
His is
mathematically he's right. But remember, you'd have to put in at least 5 toilets. So I assume there's probably 2 in each. So you would have to add at least 1 or 2 more. Like it would be a huge undertaking to do that project on getting it approved for construction with the city, making sure it's compliant. And then remember, the cost to do stuff now it's very expensive. So
right.
I would buy it as a duplex, nothing else, and then minus off what it needs and see what offer makes sense and give them a go for no price. And if it doesn't work, move on, because all this other stuff, you're just going to hurt your head.
Okay, because he pretty much confused me, because when I looked it up on PropStream, it's an 8 bedroom, 6 bathrooms, and I'm like, well, how is it? I guess I'm confused. So
Is it labeled in the tax records as a duplex?
that I don't know.
Okay, so you can look it up and it's going to tell you like multifamily, and you can look at the schematics online and it'll tell you how many units it is. And whatever the units are, that's what you price it as. Don't, like, you can make anything you want it to be. Like,
Mhm.
but the thing is, you got, when you do multifamily, it's got to be legal. So like if you want to turn a duplex into a triplex, you have to conform to it. Otherwise, you can't get insurance. The city won't approve it, and you can actually get fined for it. And you could actually risk a whole lot of things on it. So look it up to see what it is for, and then just try to figure it out. So I assume it's vacant right now and it's not being rented.
He's actually living in it.
Yeah, well, that's shocking. Honestly, I think you got you're going to have a tired old landlord that's going to be difficult. And if he's
Mhm.
this difficult now, it's just he's going to waste your time. I don't think he's motivated. So he probably owns it for cash and just doesn't care. And he's probably running into the ground, right? Why does he just fix it
Yeah,
up and sell it for top dollar?
because he said he doesn't have the funds
Okay.
to do anything. He lived in it for 11 years. I did see that he bought it for $5,000 in 2011.
Okay. Well, like, so don't listen. It doesn't matter what he bought it for. Just like
Mhm.
when you sell it, people shouldn't take that in consideration. But like, look at it. Try to figure out what it is today,
Mhm.
and just see if the numbers make sense. Most of these people, if he's trying to like already tell you the vision of 5, he's going to probably ask for a crazy price. Did he even give you like what he needs for it?
He says 60.
I don't even know if those numbers work, because I mean, he's going to
Mhm.
take $5,000 and what, multiply that by like 12 times return. Even though I tell you not to use the price, like that is a little overwhelming. It's like, so you want 12 times what you paid for it, right?
Right, and
12
he didn't
times.
do any work.
And you didn't do anything to it.
Exactly.
So here's the good news, Tate. That property's not going anywhere.
Mhm.
It ain't going anywhere. So open up a conversation with him. And then are you doing this locally?
Yes.
Okay. So if you feel safe, go by during the daytime if he's not a complete pain in your ass.
Mhm.
And when you get like nasty properties, I just look at them like, and just have that dumb look on, like, just have that look on your face. If you saw like a friend's house like that, like, the hell are you thinking? It's going to be horrid. I'm telling you. Because what happens is he didn't fix it up. He's extracted all the cash out of it and he's ran it to the ground. And now he doesn't want to spend one dime. This is what a lot of old tired landlords do. They cash flow properties to the point where they need an emergency room. You got to like get the defibrillator thing out and like jump their chest, and like that's what it needs. It needs, and you cannot be that defibrillator. It's got to be for the right price. So the numbers are low enough. You might be able to strike a conversation, because I don't see anybody buying this thing.
Yeah.
But a 5-plex, that ain't happening. I guarantee you that.
I
Rezoning,
actually,
waste of time.
yeah, I wasn't familiar with that, but I actually have an appointment with him on Tuesday,
So
next Tuesday.
just talk to him, but like you've got to be pulling away the whole time. Go. And so are you going to the property?
I am.
So when you get there, just make sure you have an upfront agreement with them for yes or no, because you don't want to waste time.
Right.
And then because a lot of these older landlords, they will use whatever offer you give them and use it for leverage for the next wholesaler. And it's a pain in the
Okay.
butt. They will keep working till they get down to like the last dollar they think they can squeeze out of that property. And honestly, you're going to look at that property and go, wow, so I make it theatrical when the property's really bad. Just go, I couldn't imagine this. And just like he goes, are you kidding? I go, I wish I was. Like, look at this thing. And once he goes, holy crap, like, because he's around it and he's living in it, he doesn't even know what he's living in. Like, he's numb to it. So just make sure you're pulling away the whole way. And I wouldn't even give him an offer when you first meet with him.
I didn't give him an offer today.
Yeah, what do you need to get for this thing? Because this is a huge project. I'm not even sure I want to take it on. and go, yeah, you can throw it in his face. I don't even care. Like listen, you paid $5,000, so you want me to multiply that by 12 and give it to you and then rehab it? Yeah, I don't think I can do that. Do you want me to try to find someone that would do something like that? Because that would take a lot. Have you tried a realtor? Why don't you just list it with a realtor? So just try to walk them down all the paths that it's not going to work and just see where it goes. I don't think the property's going anywhere, and I think in 3 to 6 months you'll wind up buying it anyways. I focus on these. I love it. It's not going anywhere. I look at it, I go, no one's buying this thing. Nobody wants to buy pain in the ass properties for top dollar right now.
Right.
You have to have a deal. Like, give me a deal. Like, how about 10,000 and you finance the transaction, and then I'll consider it. That's what I would say to a guy like that. I hate when people show me properties like that. It's like a piece of junk and they've squeezed every profit out of it and they bought it for minimal. And then they want you to pay top dollar. You got to look at them like, I'm confused. Did you think I have an agent, a realtor, and just kind of like have fun with it, but just make sure you're safe. And I would pull away and just have fun with them and understanding you're setting it up for a future conversation. So go listen, if you ever fix it up or something, give me a call. I might be able to do that price if you put all the money into it. He's not going to do it, right? Why don't you just list it with a realtor? Maybe they can get you 100,000. I do sarcastic stuff like that. Why? Because I'm just trying to think like your BS is so bad. Like, let's just both play the game. So I don't like doing that, but like this property. So here's the deal I want you, is he motivated or is the property motivated?
He's pretty much motivated because he was saying it's been raining a lot out here and he has roof damage, so the water's coming in and he's getting rained on, and so he's pretty much ready to move. He just don't have the funds to move. Okay.
So here's the thing is, you can do a creative transaction with him. This is wide open for him if he wants to do it, but you got to find a buyer for it. So here's how I look at this. On the surface, all the stuff he said, coulda, woulda, shoulda, ignore. It has no bearing on your transaction. He's just trying to sell you hope. When they try to sell you hope, they're typically way overpriced the property. So you already know that. Number two, the property is highly motivated. It's a piece of junk. He says he's motivated, but he's not showing you the signs of giving a decent price for motivation. You know what cures that?
No.
Time. Time's the only thing that cures it. Time. It's not going to get any better. The leaks aren't going to stop and no more money is going to pour in his pocket. So I'm going to do what I call like what do they call it? I heard it. It's called like the cookie sandwich type of deal, is where you got to kind of hit him up front. Just like, are you like, basically you're going to go in like, are you crazy? Like you look at this and then I go, hey, I don't know, man. I don't even like take money outside of this equation. I'm not sure I could do this. And then like at the end, I kind of like, I make them feel good at the end of the transaction, but I hit them. So you want to hit them with the hard stuff up front. Like, I don't even know if I could do this. And like at the end, you want to see signs if he's going to chase you. Right. So you know how I use the example, like if you let your dog out and they like take off and then you go, like it's getting ready to be cold, windy or rainy or snowing. And like you try to call the dog to come in and they ignore you. And then you go out and start chasing the dog and then the dog takes off. You got to be the person that just walks away from the door and shuts it on the dog and see if they come back scratching and clawing. That's the only way you do with deals like this. Don't ever the property's motivated, and I think the right amount of follow-up would get it done. So what state is this in?
Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh.
Listen, there's good demand for these properties, but like, so what do you think a unit like that would rent for under normal conditions, a 2,500 square foot duplex? I got to think it'd get a decent premium, right? So you need to find out what the math is on it. So you have to calculate it on cash flow because that's all that matters here. So find out what you can rent each side for, and you'll get a good idea when you look at it. So say he fixed it up, or your buyer fixed it up. What are you going to get? $1,000, $1,500? I don't know, because you could put a good sized family in there depending on the bedrooms.
So what I did see on PropStream, it was around $3,000
for each side.
I don't know for each side, but I did.
Yeah, I mean that might be a little bit high. So find out what it is. It's a good size, and find out what the total cash is on it, and you can extrapolate a number. But say, listen, it's got to be fixed up for me to get those numbers. Do not try to make properties something they aren't. Like I don't like making a duplex a fiveplex is a horrid idea. It's terrible. So just find out what you generate in cash flow. If you get $1,000 for each side, you can kind of figure out, because whoever buys it's going to want to figure out what they get for a return on their money. Okay. So it's a simple math equation. It's like, okay, if you get $2,000 total for the property before you even take off taxes and all that stuff, 2,000 times 12 is 24,000. 24,000 you can divide by the price, and that's what their return is going to be. Now you're in a little bit different market that might not work there like so much. There'll be like different numbers. So go with him, work with him. But I'm telling you, this is probably going to take time. So don't panic when he's not interested in an offer right off the bat. But if he ever calls you back or something like that, it's a really good sign. Just go, hey, listen, give me a call if you ever really want to do a deal. I got money, but and here's how I always leave it with guys like this, or gals. It doesn't matter. Guys are typically 10 times worse, by the way. I need to create a win-win situation. It just can't benefit you. So if you want something that works, I can meet you somewhere in the middle and we can make this work. But 60 is not even on the table for that one. But I got to tell you, there's other people in other states that would run. You know what a duplex costs in the state of Florida? It's horrendous. In my toughest neighborhoods, I mean tough. I don't even go in these neighborhoods anymore. They get close to 300,000, and they're rough. So I'm like, I think you could attract some people outside of Pennsylvania because they love to own cash flowing properties. So the real question is, how much do you got to put in that sucker to make it work?
Right. Okay.
Is it $30K on each side? That's $60,000 plus what you got to pay him. You just got to work the math out. So don't use a calculator. I want you to do this in your head or do it on a piece of paper and simplify it. So the really cool thing is you don't really need to find comps. You just need to find out what kind of cash this property generates.
Okay.
And then you could sell it to anybody in the entire country because there's people that would love to put stuff like this in their portfolio. Because guys like me, we can't buy duplexes. Duplexes are $300,000 minimum, and I'm usually only getting one side of the duplex for that.
Okay.
So I would be interested in a clean property. So if you could clean that property up for, say, $60,000 total, and then give that guy $20,000, you could have a fully functionable $80,000 duplex. Oh my God. I mean, you got to understand, if that thing generated $20,000 a year, that's an insane return. You realize that? So what is that? That's a 25% return. You could sell that all over the country, by the way.
Okay.
But you might have to get creative with them. Go, listen, if I do this, or see if you give some seller financing while you fix it up. Remember, you're not going to fix it up. You're just going to sell it to someone that's going to take care of it for you.
Right.
Okay? Let me know how it works out.
I have one more question.
Shoot.
So I spoke with the woman earlier. Her mom owned this house and she passed away 2 years ago. She was in a reverse mortgage program.
Yeah, they're not good.
Okay, so I just wanted to know about the reverse mortgage.
How long ago was it her mother that passed away?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Okay, and the property still hasn't been sold or nothing's happened on it?
The company won't really give the family any anything. I don't know what's really going on with that. But
So have they opened up a probate for it?
no, I was going to ask her, but she never said anything about probate.
Okay. So for you to transact on anything on that property, they have to go through probate. A lot of people don't do probate because A, they don't understand it, and B, they have to pay a lawyer for it.
Okay.
Okay. Number two, a reverse mortgage is designed to fail for the descendants of the property. It's designed on purpose. 2 years, I can almost guarantee you there's nothing left on the property, because reverse mortgages, they know when someone dies and they don't do probate, it'll take 2 to 3 years before they can foreclose on it. And what they do is they strip all the equity out of the property. So honestly, until the family opens the probate, there's nothing you can do. You have no options. You have zero options to do. Is anybody living in the house?
No, they just got the water shut off. I just rode past a couple days ago.
Yeah.
They had a water shut off and everything.
So I hate reverse mortgages. I think they're predatory. And I mean, I get it. They serve a purpose. But when someone passes away, someone usually opens up a probate, and then they either sell the house or they try to refinance it to clear the reverse mortgage. Understanding most people take reverse mortgages to take care of a loved one that they can't afford to anymore. And they're going to take out the most they can. They don't take out like 10 or 20 grand. They take out like 200 grand, whatever it is.
Okay.
So you can look all this stuff up if you want to dig into it, because it's all on public record, and find out when they refinance. So reverse mortgage is basically a refi, and then they get monthly payments. And then once the person passes away, the mortgage is technically due. And after 90 days, they put penalties on it until they strip all the equity out of the property. They suck. Like when I hear reverse mortgage, like if somebody hasn't died within the last 6 months, I don't waste my time. It's just, there's nothing you can do. Now, I've seen reverse mortgages where they forget about them, and you could technically work a deal out with them. Go, listen, I'll rent the house out to you like month-to-month basis, but I'm not accountable for it. But because sometimes they take years to foreclose on the property. So if that property is earning $1,000 a month, if it could pull in $12,000 a year, I mean, I'm probably like have a bank going, oh my God, I got to go after this guy. I know people that do this stuff all the time. I actually own a property that it's in like a legal dispute. Been in it for 7 years with the family. The family wanted to sell it to me. I go, there's nothing I can do until this is resolved. I've been renting the property for 4 years. 4 years. And here's the thing is, I gave the family $1,500 for the right to do it. Now, I don't own the property, and I'm not legally responsible, and I'm not doing equity stripping. I just saw an opportunity. If the bank wants to sit there and play this game all day, we can all play it back. So if you want to get creative, you can do things like that. Just make sure you're upfront with your seller and let them know what you're doing. So usually what I do on a deal like this is, okay, if I could get 1,000, so you got to give the renter a deep discount, because they got to know it's month to month. And then say say it earned $800, say them going market rates $1,200, you did it for $800. The tenant knows they're on a month to month, and then the owner goes, well, it's better than sitting there nothing. And then you just split it with them and go, I'll manage it. But everything is on a month to month. Like I have no responsibility for the property other than making sure they keep it clean and in good standing. So, when like the short sale debacle happened from 2008 to 2011, hundreds, if not thousands of properties in my market, they were done just like that. I turned them all down because I didn't think it was the right thing to do. And now I look back at it, it was a terrible decision. So, you could be you can be as creative as you want in real estate. You're never bound by like certain stuff like that. Most of these banks create these problems. So if you can legally and ethically do something, as long as you're okay with the owner doing it, then go for it. Understanding it's extreme short term. I've used short-term rentals in these scenarios just to pay for the lawyers to fight off the foreclosures, bankruptcies, and stuff like that too. So.
Okay. Now she said this company is managing the house. Is that
so? Just to let you know, what state is this in?
The Pennsylvania.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with Pennsylvania law, but so there's different types of states on how they take the deed to the property. So like in Florida, We are a judicial state. So the only way you can take the deed away from me is you have to go to court and beat me in a battle. So find out if you're in a judicial or non-judicial. A non-judicial is basically the bank holds the deed in like trust or in escrow, kind of like they do on like your car. If you like take a note out on a car, you buy a $50,000 car, they hold the title until you pay them off. So find out which ones you are. There's 50 states. I don't memorize everyone. I'm not that good, guys. And then find out. But usually a management company, they don't have any legal rights. They've written it in paper, but they're not the owner. So what they'll do is they go in, they'll put a lockbox on it, or they'll change the locks and they'll put like stickers on the door.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, if she's in a judicial state, which you can Google it and look it up, is she has complete control till the day they take that house away from her. And I remind management companies all the time, like, don't come in the house. By the way, they're coming in the house. They're way overstepping their boundaries. Can they legally do it in the mortgage paperwork? They can. But whenever there's a tenant or an owner or somebody in the property, they have no rights to enter the property. So they're bad. I've had them take houses I'm dealing with and they change all the locks and everything. And we change them back. And we just kind of keep changing it. And so then what you do is you really want to mess with them. Put a dog bowl by the front door with a couple toys and some old dog food. They will never come to that house again. Let them know, like, hey, and just put like a go get a $sign. Beware of pit bull or Rottweiler, and like they're like, holy crap! Like, you just let me tell you, a chewed up dog bone like next to an old water cup, and that is probably the best deterrent to any type of criminal or like any person that doesn't want to. Nobody wants to be bit by a dog.
Right.
So, but like, listen, here's the truth of it is reverse mortgages after 6 months, they're a pain in the butt.
Okay.
So the thing is, they're not going to let the family, which is the rightful heirs, get the payoff because they're not legally entitled to it. And they're going to play this game. So I hate banks like this, by the way. It's just tell them what the number is and let them figure it out. It's ridiculous. Now,
that's what she was
might
saying.
be able to go to a title company and have them send over a fax and see if they can get a payoff. That's your only shot doing it. But after 2 years, there's probably little to none left. So go put a dog bowl out there and get an old chewed bone and freak somebody out.
I'm going to call her back and let her know.
Yeah, doesn't it bother you people show up in a property like that, especially when somebody passed away? It's just
right.
Like, you guys are vultures. Guys, these are what the banks are. They are vultures. I'm sorry. They only give loans to people that don't really need them. And then they always overstep their boundaries. So can you imagine if you owed somebody money and they just started coming and changing the locks and walking in your house? You'd freak out. And I think it's really wrong what banks do. Like, so that basically it's written in the paperwork, if there's no objection and the house is vacant, they can do it. It doesn't mean it's right, though. It pisses me off. So,
right.
Okay, Toy, let me know how it works out, man. You got some work cut out for you. I wouldn't spend a lot of time on the reverse mortgage, but the other guy, you just got some time. So take it as a learning lesson and just wait them out. Okay?
All right. I will. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So, guys, that is it. Make sure you do me a favor. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. We're going to try this time slot for the foregoing future. So 5 p.m. Eastern time. Zach will be on tomorrow on the Flip with Rick channel. I believe it's cold calling 5 p.m. Eastern time. And then I'll be back on Thursday and Friday. And guys, let's get to it. We've got a little bit of time left in the year. Let's go ahead and wrap it up, guys. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, guys.